باز هم درباره دوره آخر رنسانس که الگریکو هم یکی از نقاش‌های بسیار مشهور میشه. پسانو در ابتدا کارهای رو کس خوش نمی‌داشته باشن، ولی پسانو الگریکو کاراش نقاش‌های دیگه هم تاثیر که مثل پیکاسو، جاکو یا در دوره‌های قبلی است. مگرم خود الگریکو یکی از شاگردای تیزان باشه. تیزان کسی است که اولین بار نقاشی رو روی تکه کار میکنه. ولی در پالیز ما از فیلم ها رو تهیه کردیم، ببینیم بسیار جالب است که همین چیزایی که ما در چند فیلم
100 years before the invention of the photograph, artists were using simple cameras to capture stunningly realistic images on canvas. In a Hollywood studio, Hockney recreates masterpieces by Vermeer, Caravaggio and Van Eyck and demonstrates the secret techniques they use to create such vivid pictures. His extraordinary new evidence rewrites the story of some of the most famous paintings in the world.
And the thrust looks good. All engines, all sources show the second stage is burning perfectly. Roger, 7. You have a go. At least 7 orbits.
We thought we saw the 20th century on the news, film and elsewhere better than any previous century. Although we could say we did not see it at all, a camera did. Up to 160 years ago, all images were made by artists. Chemicals replaced them. Today, photographs monopolize reality and truth, as painting did in the past. No electricity involved in this picture. It's done purely optically and very clear and very beautiful. If we think what is in front of a camera is truth, verisimilitude, then those who command control over optical imagery have great power. Look at film, this, the press and advertising.
But the real news is the power of the photographic image.
Including this one you see in front of you, is coming to an end. Exciting times are ahead. Here we are in the Hollywood Hills. Below are the lights of Studio City. We're all hard at work here making pictures in studios. I've been designing my own kind of Hollywood set. Here is representing Renaissance Florence, Bruges and Ghent. They look brand new as they did 600 years ago. Because this is a set in Hollywood, this is Hollywood too. Florence, Bruges, Ghent and Hollywood. 4 cities deeply involved in picture making. They were secretive then and they're secretive today. On this set and in other real places, I'm going to make experiments that I hope will begin to reveal In the 1700s, we know Canaletto used a camera obscura. Many artists did. This is by Reynolds. Reynolds certainly owned one. It's in the Science Museum in London. He obviously didn't tell everyone. It folds up to look like a book. But in the paintings of Vermeer done in the 1600s, we see the most vivid use of optics. They have a photographic look. This basket is out of focus. The eye does not go out of focus. How did he paint this fabric and the map and this chandelier? By eye? These paintings look strange to people at the time they were painted. The foreground objects seem too big, but not to us. We're used to looking at photographs. Professor Philip Stedman built this model not only from the painting, but from 17th century chairs, tiles, etc., that he went to great trouble to find, and discovered that, viewed from one single point, the view of Vermeer's camera, a photograph of the set, matched the painting exactly. If you computerize Philip's model and project the scene through the lens, the image, focused on the back wall, is exactly the same size as the original canvas. In this model room, you can do the same with several other Vermeers. Only the people and the furniture change. The chance of this happening without optics is millions to one.
You need quite a big lens because of
The light.
you're indoors and you need to see detail, and also you need to project an image the size of the painting, which is, this kind of size, so you need something that will project over that area. You don't need it all in focus at once, because of course you can refocus a bit. But I think that his lens was that kind of size, and that's the sort of lens you begin to get.
Then finding the size of the sweet spot is 30 centimeters square. That's about the size of the Doge by Bellini. That's the size of the Robert Campion head. This is the size of enormous numbers of early Netherlands portraits. Is that a coincidence? No. I think they found a very, very useful tool which they kept to themselves, as they would. Van Eyck never wrote down any formulas whatsoever for the marvellous glazes he was using. They were not written down, probably in case somebody else got them who he didn't want to have them. There was a rival, meaning they were in business. He needed other things, so he's not going to tell them exactly how he does things. When we made the first image with the mirror, it was deeply exciting. I knew we'd discovered something rather big. We were setting up a still life based on the Cotin painting of the cabbage on the string. And unfortunately, the cabbage started spinning round. It didn't stay still. But I went into the dark room to see it, but there on the projection was the cabbage spinning. And I realized this is a colour movie. It moves. I mean, there it is. It's spinning. It's quite beautiful. Of course, it's upside down. The string's coming from the bottom. And I then realized, my God, this is a movie in colour. They must have seen it 600. The doorway of Florence Cathedral. Early in the morning, the sun is on the baptistry, but inside it is very dark. It is a camera. Brunelleschi stood in this doorway supposedly about 6-7 feet in the door, and made a panel of the baptistry. And we think he did it. He made a perspective picture. We know that. The mirror makes a perspective picture. Brunelleschi was the man in charge of every tool there was in Florence. He's building a dome on the cathedral. Every bit of latest technology was there. The descriptions of the pulley system they described for him to pull things up. It's therefore, it seems to me, not possible that he didn't know the mirror would do what we did in Florence. Brunelleschi had to have known. It's not possible we were the first people to do that. Using a mirror, he could only produce a small picture, about 30 centimeters square. But by extending these lines of perspective, he could create what all artists wanted, a bigger space and a bigger picture. That way, of course, makes you one fixed point out here. That's what we would do, and a mathematical point at that. Somehow, they never did that in Bruges. In Bruges, it would seem to me, if their picture is this size because of optical projections, and they wanted to make them bigger, they somehow add like this, because it has an effect of making you close to everything. I prefer actually the spaces made here, because I feel you are a person who's in them, like I am in the world. I'm not outside the world looking in through a window, I'm in it. We should all feel we're in it. Everybody flocks to Florence for inspiration. When you go to Calais, you drive off quick and often bypass Bruges and Ghent. But perhaps we should stop here, because there's a marvellous example of a picture that makes us feel a part of the world. Van Eyck's masterpiece, the altarpiece in Ghent. This is the very, very sophisticated picture. Amazing power when you come in this room. The central panel of this is a quite remarkable space where you seem, even in the middle distance, the crowds in the middle distance, you can see every detail in the hat, the jewels in the archbishop's hats and so on. Wonderful foliage, marvellous green. The green and red together give it this incredible depth, more than practically any other painting I know, in a way. I've just put together a reproduction of a desert high road I'd done 16 years ago, and I put it next to the centre panel here. And I immediately saw there must be similar principles at work here. In the
to work for 10 years at this point as an artist for a patron who's going to be paying you, and to be able to do whatever you like, as long as you're delivering something. That is remarkable. And that means that this becomes a catalyst petition. He has sort of a resurgence of creativity in this period.
He started with his canvases. He prepared them with a simple white gesso ground. He didn't use coloured grounds.
This was really the normal size painting brush, which you can imagine Titian using, similar to. The reason why you got it long, you want to hold it so you can actually make marks, and when you're painting, you can actually see the whole canvas. When you get kind of close, it's all a blur, but when you're further away, the actual drawing and shape making come together and actually creates the form.
He was very lucky because Venice was the centre of the pigment trade, and he could choose the very best materials, the most rich and colourful ones.
Exactly what I've got here is actually a proper lead white, which you can't get anymore. It's actually Titian that used the red Kremnitz white.
Venice was a centre for making lead white, and so he was able to get very good lead white, and it's a critical pigment for his technique.
The red that Titian would use would be vermilion red. The vermilion red is because of that's mercury in it.
For Titian, the execution on the surface, on the canvas, is the content. The way he starts opening up his forms, the way he starts painting even more atmospherically than he had previously. His approach to gestural brushwork, his approach to layering of color, and his use of that to tell stories with not just narrative precision, but emotional and psychological precision.
You can very imagine Titian doing that, and when you're involved with a picture, you become so lost within it.
Titian is the great precursor of our modern day idea of painting as self-expression.
From the point of view of technique, the most remarkable thing about poesy is how varied they are, how varied Titian's approach is to their creation.
Again, it's fundamental to remember that they are abstract. And again, it's not about painting every single thing in. He's getting to an essence, because your brain fills the rest in. Again, which you could say is a modern idea.
He's doing something new in painting that is so radical that you can't really think about painting the same way afterwards. He's painting the future.
We're in the Prado, looking at El Greco's Adoration of the Shepherds. This is a painting that he did very late in his career. It was about 1612, 1614.
And one that had personal significance for him since it was for his family chapel.
It's a wild painting.
Well, all El Grecos are wild, but he clearly gets wilder later in his career.
It maybe felt freer because it was personally related.
The figures are incredibly elongated. Their positions of their bodies make no sense. I mean, there's just enormous license with naturalism here. Naturalism, in fact, doesn't even seem to be a requirement, even though we're just coming really out of the Renaissance here. I mean, even by Mannerist standards, right? Because we're basically in the period of Mannerism, moving into the Baroque. This is extreme.
Well, El Greco was Greek, and he was trained actually as a Greek icon painter. And of course, the Byzantine tradition was a tradition that was concerned with distorting the body for symbolic purpose. And so I think there is a kind of license that comes from that tradition. Now, El Greco gets to Spain, and he does these paintings in Toledo for the most part, by way of Italy, where he really does train in the Renaissance style. So he understands contemporary art at this point, and he really understands what people are doing, but he's also willing to let go. Look what he's done. He's removed virtually any reference to actual space. We have almost no sense of real depth. We have a little bit of a barrel vault right behind the Virgin Mary, but besides that, it's all clouds and light.
And movement. If you look at the structure of the painting, the composition, the Christ child, who occupies the center of about 5 or 6 figures, almost provides the light source, almost as though it was a fire in the center of those figures that they were all warming their hands by.
I think actually that idea of fire is perfect. The figures feel like flames. In fact, the light seems to be flickering. There seems to be, everything seems to be transient, and nothing seems to be fixed. Even the human bodies themselves, as you mentioned before, seem completely mutable.
I think that this pictorial language that we're describing represents the spiritual, the transcendent, the otherworldly.
Well, the church was really trying to combat the threat of the Reformation.
Right.
And I think that, especially in Toledo, you have a very severe reaction, a counter-Reformation, taking the Council of Trent doctrine very seriously.
So the church is really looking to reform itself, to inspire faith in believers in a new and powerful way. And I think El Greco's paintings were able to achieve that. One of the things that he's doing is using color in a way that's I think unprecedented. We have neon oranges and greens and blues and golds that I don't think I've ever seen before.
It really won't be until Delacroix in the 19th century that somebody is as bold with color. And even Delacroix, I think, is muted in comparison to this.
We also have these very stark contrasts of light and dark and figures that are very close to us and this amazing foreshortening. I mean, look at those angels up in the sky. I mean, we're seeing them from these remarkable angles.
There is a sense in El Greco's work, and especially in the Adoration of the Shepherds, that the divine is with us in the most complete way, that is, it completely infuses the physical world in a way that more traditional, more representational Renaissance painting, and even Mannerist painting doesn't quite achieve. There is a sense that the divine actually is a physical force that runs as a current through the space that El Greco defines.
کامرا ابسکور یا لنز هم که در این فیلم یک بار دیگه استفاده میشه. همین کامرا و عکاسی یا پسان نبرای در قرن 18 پسان ها در قرن 20 اگر هم پیش از اینکه کامرا انکشاف کنه هنرمندا از لنز استفاده میکردن و نقاشا و در این فیلم بریم ببینید حتما جالب است. تشکر.